This one is dedicated to all the dumpster diving shitcoiners out there because I do want to follow up on our total 3 charts, which are the charts that exclude Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the dollar. Thus, we get our very lovely, very volatile, and sometimes even very impressive altcoins in this market, which are at a major point as far as the long term does go. So this is a video that is once again focused on the long term. So we're not necessarily talking about the price action for today, tomorrow, even the next day, but really the next few months. And without further ado, we can just jump right in this one. We'll cover Bitcoin at the end of this video as well, I should let you know. And we can start off right over here with the monthly look on total 3. So first things first, we haven't really covered this one in like a month or two now, but the Cyan 9 exponential moving average has crossed the upside of the yellow 21. That actually happened a couple months ago, and similar to what we did see in the last time in July of 2020, that is a long-term sign of health, especially now that we do see all lower periods trade above higher periods in the full-on bullish posture with the 9 above the 21 and the 21 above the 55. On top of that, we do see that our indicators are in a very similar posturing as well. In this case, we can see that our monthly RSI is at the exact same level that we did see in November of 2020. Actually, literally about the exact same level, in fact. Breaking into the bullish control zone for the first time in quite some time after really like more than 2 years away from it. And the last that we did see that sort of signature on the monthly RSI was basically in November of 2020 again, when the total 3 market cap was consolidating before the mega macro breakout to basically new highs, or not basically new highs, but quite literally new highs. And you can see that from there, yes, there was a short-term correction, but ultimately it was 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 months until the next macro high, and it was essentially vertical during that time. And I do believe that we're starting to enter into a similar period, especially as volatility is coming off of extreme lows. In fact, the lowest lows that we've really seen ever for the longest time ever on a time frame like this. So this move is likely in motion with a little bit of a short-term correction now is essentially I'd be looking at that. As I reference my notes over here, I should also say that not only is the monthly RSI at the same level, but so is the monthly stochastic oscillator, as you can see right here. Let's just make a nice horizontal line to where we're currently at, basically the critical zone. And again, similar to Bitcoin, once we get into the critical zone, that's actually a sign of strength, which, well, the last time we saw this actually happen, this sort of specific area hit, was actually the exact same level that we just saw on the RSI, and we'll go over a couple other things as well. That consolidation right below the big breakdown levels from a couple years prior, and again, not saying it happens today or tomorrow, not even this month, maybe not even next month, but ultimately, this is a setup for a breakout to those prior highs and likely beyond as well. Monthly BBWP also giving us a tremendous signal there too. And if we go back into this chart, we can see that even from yet another angle, there's a lot of similarities here. If I were to draw a Fibonacci retracement from the ultimate high to the ultimate low of the past cycle, you can see that there is a nice correction right around the 618 level, which well, as we'll see, is exactly where the total 3 market cap is as of right now. And again, a correction right around there is to be expected. I mean, that is the golden pocket after all. Very rarely will you see just a straight shot through it. It does happen every once in a while, but it is a rare occurrence, and it is a more likely occurrence, or at least a little bit of a good area for correction. So that is why I do say in the short term, you know, if it spends another month, maybe even another 2 months around this region, completely fine. But ultimately, when you start to see closures above about 700 billion with a B, I would be looking for the next march up closer to 850 billion. And realistically from there, it's likely a free ride to the prior highs of 1.13 trillion. Anyways, that is, in my opinion, a very compelling argument for altcoins in general. You know, how does this work into the overall scheme of things? Well, look, there's a time to play altcoins and there's time to not play altcoins. Long term, I do think that right now, if you have been eyeing altcoins, it's not the worst time to be really looking for perhaps a long-term position, as we do see this is likely to lead into a breakout to prior highs and probably on from there. What are the altcoins going to benefit most from something like this? It's probably going to be the newer altcoins. If you are in 2021 or prior shitcoins and they really haven't even had a good time since now, or even if they're still in a downtrend versus their Bitcoin pairing, those are not the strong ones. Yes, they probably go up versus their US dollar counterparts, but they're not going to go up as much as the other newer ones that just do not have that overhead hang, or the stronger old cycle ones, which there are very, very few. And in fact, if you are thinking that yours is like the strong one, again, put your altcoin chart versus Bitcoin. If it's still in a downtrend, it's not fucking good. It's not fucking good. There's no arguments to be made about that at all whatsoever in my experience, because the strong get stronger and the weak get weaker. And you just look to past cycle altcoins versus their Bitcoin pairing, and you will be very much enlightened to that fact, which can probably save you hopefully a lot of pain. Now, on the other side, I don't want to shit talk the altcoiners too much here, just because, this is something that personally I've mid-curved in the past. The mid-curve meme, it's like you think that you're too smart, so you don't do something, which it's like you should have just done the dumb thing anyways and get into it. And realistically, altcoins, yeah, in general, they're going to have some pretty amazing returns just because, well, they do have lower market caps and it's just easier to have more astronomical moves on them. It is like playing a little bit of Russian roulette or just gambling, going to Vegas. But if there is going to be a time where those odds start to turn in your favor, kind of now is that time. And so I'm not saying risk your whole fucking portfolio on it. Probably don't risk anything at all. And of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I can share with you my experiences from past cycles in that, yeah, I missed out on some pretty amazing gains for some of these things, which realistically wouldn't have had to have invested all that much to have seen some pretty impressive gains, significant gains, I'd say as well. So that's a mistake that I've certainly made in the past. I would also say on the other side, definitely do not get married to altcoins. I mean, shit, you really shouldn't even be married to Bitcoin as well, unless you've truly drinking the Kool-Aid, which, fair enough. More power to you. And of course, it can be wrong at that. But I would say that, Bitcoin already is quite speculative. Altcoins are like speculation times a billion, trillion, quadrillion, million, billion, quadrillion. Somewhere in there. It's fucking speculative. The odds are against you. The odds are against you long term. But right now, there probably is some nice gains to be made to the upside. Perhaps later this year. All right, sweet. So we've gone over that. Long term, yes, likely good. Want to see closures above 700 billion here at the end of this month. Short term corrective, yes, that's fine. Can come back down, even to low 600s. That's fine. But long term, the trajectory does remain there as long as that condition is met. What else do we have? Yeah, we can go look at Bitcoin really quickly. So just following up on yesterday's video, we were looking at that statistical setup as saying, hey, if Bitcoin is going to break down, it probably is more likely to happen in the short term rather than long term, meaning in the next few days. And we did see a bit of a breakdown yesterday. Breakdown on lower term timeframes obviously hasn't broken down on the higher term timeframes. Still, I would not consider this an actual breakdown with implications below $60,000 as long as Bitcoin is trading above actually pretty much yesterday's low on a closing basis. That would be about $62,000 for right now. However, the weekend is set up likely for a bit of a bounce. Why do I say that? Because we are starting to see volatility contract once again, and volatility contraction while Bitcoin is playing below the median of the HPDR bands is likely to lead towards a test closer to the median of the HPDR bands, which is actually right now just below $66,000. So I'm not saying it has to get there today, but Bitcoin probably tries a little bit of a bounce attempt over this weekend. By the same token, if Bitcoin can trade above the $69,000 region, I would say, hey, correction is over and it's time to be looking up and to the right. So there's a little bit of this is where things get a little bit more delicate when it comes to trading, just because things can switch around fast to the upside. In my opinion, it's really a game here of when to be or where to be looking for on the next higher low. It's like, does Bitcoin have it here at $62,000? I think the case for that is starting to wane. Could it come down to like 59 or 57? Yeah, very easily. I think that'd have a pretty good or be a pretty good area of interest. If that area fails, where's the next area I'm looking towards? Probably closer to $51,000. But ultimately, one of these three areas I do believe is very likely to be the next higher low. If Bitcoin were to put in the higher low here at $62,000, I believe that you'd be very likely aware of that fact or confirming that fact if Bitcoin can trade back above, let's call it $69,000 as of right now. Until then, pressure remains to the downside with short-term bouncy bounces, kind of the name of the game, I guess. Daily stochastic momentum pivot has now shifted up again, actually, to 68,500. So that is another overall sign that the correction is still unlikely to be over. Downside pressures do remain. And again, in the short term, probabilities do favor downside. Long term, probabilities favor the upside, as we went over in yesterday's video. I won't go over again in today's video because we're already 10 minutes long. It's probably getting too boring for you, or at least what I read from on the comments. And perhaps that is, perhaps that is a good time for me to end this video, actually. So as always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and fuck you, and I'll see you tomorrow.